It's starting to get cold outside, and it's only going to get colder and colder as we approach Christmas and New Year's. And we're going to get a lot of new electric cars like the EX90, the Polestar 3, the Porsche Macan Electric, etc., etc. And it's kind of unfortunate that these cars are being dropped now and coming to market when it's really cold. And the testing I'm going to do is going to be done in cold weather, winter, and even maybe snow, which is fine. But I also want to try to do summer testing for you guys, because there are a lot of people, who are interested in what the ranges of these electric cars are going to be in summer. And you want to know it now and not in like 7 or 8 months. And that's why I'm trying to organize a trip to warmer weather, preferably California, because I can get my hands on all of these cars and even test cars you guys have over there in the US that we don't have here in Europe that you guys maybe want to see. But a trip like this is going to cost me a lot of money, somewhere between 4,000 and 8,000 euros to fly me over, for accommodation for 2 or 3 weeks so I can test as many cars as possible, and also having a videographer filming all of this content. So I've already gotten a little bit of funds from some of my sponsors, but that's not going to be enough. So that's why I've set up a GoFundMe, which is linked down below. And we've already gathered like 2,500 kroners between all of the, all these platforms, GoFundMe, Patreon, and YouTube. Thanks. So that is awesome. We're like 4% there to getting to that 50,000 kroner goal. So guys, if you want to support this trip, if you want to support this project, 5 euros is awesome. 10 euros is even more awesome. And if you guys want to give more, well, I appreciate it, because every penny, every euro cent, every euro, every kroner is going back into this trip. So if you want to support me, there will be a link in the description box down below. Thank you very much. Today, we are putting the new Ford Explorer Electric through one of the hardest tests we do here on the channel. The main goal of this test is to finish the 610-kilometer route with the shortest charging time possible. But the test is also designed to expose weaknesses and flaws with every EV. So how will this new compact EV from Ford perform? That is what we're going to reveal in today's video. You join me after about an hour on the road southbound and down towards Kristiansand. Welcome back to the Ford MEB, is what they should have called it, and not the Ford Explorer. Because like the Volkswagen ID3, the ID4, the ID5, the Chinese ID6, the ID7, the ID Buzz, the Cupra Born, the Cupra Tavascan, the Audi Q4 e-tron, the Skoda Elroq, and the Skoda Enyaq, I think those are all. This is also built on Volkswagen Group's MEB platform, which has to be the most widely used electric car platform in 2024. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section down below. But it's crazy how many cars that use this platform. And it's kind of a mixed bag, because this being a Ford, it's not going to look like a Volkswagen, and it doesn't inside here. There are Volkswagen switches and buttons. We're going to get back to that in my full review at the end of the week. But the rest of the interior, the infotainment system, other stuff here is very, very different. And also on the outside, it looks very different. Underneath the skin, it is much more Volkswagen Group than it is Ford. So this gets the new, more efficient rear electric motor we first saw about a year ago in the Volkswagen Group product, so 286 horsepower, but it gets the battery pack, which you see in the Cupra Tavascan, which is 77 kilowatt hours usable, but only gets a peak charging speed of 135 kilowatts. And according to the engineers at Cupra, which I asked at the launch this summer, that's because this battery pack is built in China, where the others aren't. So that's interesting, kind of a mixed bag. And you can also get in the entry-level version of this, the old 204 horsepower electric motor that is less efficient. So it remains to be seen, all of these changes, all of these different configurations, and this being, shorter and more square than something like a Volkswagen ID5, it's not going to be as efficient. It's not going to have as low of a drag coefficient. And that is kind of reflected in the consumption. So after about an hour, 100 kilometers on the road, our average consumption is at 22.6, 22.7 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Though conditions, dry roads, and it's about 12, 13 degrees Celsius, so kind of mild. Like the temperatures the few days been up and down. Today is kind of a mild day. We have a headwind of about 4 to 5 meters per second now, which is only going to get worse as we approach our turnaround point in Kristiansand. So we can't, draw any conclusions about consumption yet. We can't do that before at the end of the video, because that headwind is going to be a tailwind, and we're going to get more of that energy back once we get back to our starting point. So guys, we have about a few hours until we're at our turnaround point. We're gonna get there and then we're gonna find out where we're gonna stop and charge because we're gonna know how much range we have left. As we started moving closer and closer to our turnaround point, the wind actually started to pick up quite severely. But because of the roads, our average speed dropped, meaning that our average consumption dropped as the temperature got higher and higher and peaked at around 17 degrees Celsius. Okay, we are now here in Kristiansand, which is our turnaround point. And you know, the weather, a little bit cloudy, not as sunny as it was now. And also you can see the strong wind, but it's like 14, 15 degrees Celsius outside, which is really mild or warm for being like the end of October, beginning of November. Today it is actually October 31st. And also our consumption, 19.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and we are here with 18% stated charge. So we're gonna enter the motorway again, we're gonna start heading northward. I think we're gonna stop and charge at the IonT charging station in Lillesand, and I have a strategy for, you know, getting the best out of this car, which I'll update you guys about once we get to that charging station. We've now exited to the IonT charging station here in Lillesand, right next to the Circle K station. I haven't been here in a while, so this is going to be interesting. There shouldn't be too much traffic. It's a Thursday, it's like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, so I don't think a lot of people are here. Let's see, we've preconditioned the battery manually, so we should be up to temperature to get that peak charging speed. And let's see, we're going to arrive here at this charger with 11% state to charge, and our consumption is 20.0 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Okay, so I've now authorized the payment using my app on the phone, and as I said, we're here with 11% stated charge, and the plan is to go to 80. I think that's going to be enough. As I said, we had a headwind on our way down of about 4 to 8 meters per second. When we were in Kristiansand, that was like 8 meters per second, 7, 8 meters per second, really windy. It doesn't seem too windy here, but I think the consumption is going to drop to an even lower number. And when we passed here on our way down, we passed here with about 21, 22% stated charge. And that tells me if we go to 80, that's going to be plenty enough to get back to where we started. So I think one charging session is what we're going to do today, but we're going to correct the charging session as we did with our last long trip test in the Porsche Taycan 4S, which is something we're going to start doing here from now. So what I'm going to do is we're going to charge the car to 80%. I'm going to time the charging session up to like 70 and then so forth up to 80. And then at the end of the video, we're going to subtract those minutes. So we're arriving with 0% stated charge in Essential. So that means with every car, we're going to arrive with 0%. And that means we're going to be able to compare them, you know, closer and more accurately. So going to 80% here is what we're going to do, but we're going to time the charging session all the way. So 127, 128 kilowatts, so we're basically getting that peak charging speed now. Yeah, 129 is going to take about, let's say, maybe like 25 minutes to go to 80%, and we'll see how much time you can subtract at the end. As soon as we hit 80%, I disconnected the charger, hopped into the car, and started the journey back towards Oslo. As predicted, that tailwind on our way south gave us a nice push back to the finish line. As the hours ticked on, the weather got better, the temperature kept creeping up, and the consumption went lower and lower. How low? Well, you're about to find out. Welcome back to where we started this long trip test this morning here at Esso in Slättbanden. And we arrived here with a massive 17% state of charge, which we are going to correct for once we put this car into the chart and we rank it and compare it to the competition. But before we do that, let's talk about the consumption. 18.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers is actually quite an impressive number for this car being this size and on this platform. Yes, the weather today actually turned out to be pretty darn good. We had, you know, cloudy weather, which is always the best for efficiency, and temperatures started at around 9 degrees Celsius when we started here, but we had temperatures as high as 17. But throughout most of the day, it was between like 12 and 17 degrees Celsius. So actually pretty good conditions, except for the wind. That was, the only thing, well, which wasn't good. The dry roads, the dry conditions were great. So that low consumption, 18.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, is actually quite interesting because a little more than 3 years ago, I tested the ID3 rear-wheel drive version with the 77 kilowatt hour battery pack on 19-inch wheels with similar weather, between like 7 and 17 degrees Celsius. Also dry roads, but that is a smaller car. Yes, it's a little bit shorter, so maybe that's not good for aerodynamics, but it has a more aerodynamic shape up front, and it is lower with a smaller frontal area. And that car with the old 204 horsepower motor had an average consumption on the same route, same test, similar conditions of 18.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So I think that is testament to this new rear electric motor being more efficient. So that's the comparison, and I think that is pretty good. So we arrived here with 17% stated charge, and we charged to 80% for a total charging time of 29 minutes. But we have to correct that. So moving forward now, the test we're going to do from now on, we're going to correct the times, we're going to correct the charging times to make them as fair as possible, meaning that once we correct this, we subtract 17% from that charging curve. We only charge to 63%, and according to my chart, I timed this, we had a total charging time of 20 minutes, which isn't anything groundbreaking. It's not going to break any records. It's not amazing, but it's actually an improvement over the ID3, which I think charged for like 25 minutes, which are here on my notes. 25 minutes for the ID3. We also tested a Skoda Enyaq rear-wheel drive also 3 years ago, between 10 and 17 degrees Celsius, mostly dry conditions, but with a few showers. That charged for 27 minutes. So I think this is just testament to this platform being a little bit more efficient, and also once we're correcting these tests, it's going to be more fair and you're going to be able to compare them more directly. So I think that's actually a pretty decent time for what this car is. 20 minutes, not bad at all. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys then, goodbye.